There's a specific monthly income number where your relationship with money completely changes. Not where you feel rich, where you stop feeling broke, where checking your bank account doesn't trigger that sinking feeling, where an unexpected $800 car repair is annoying instead of catastrophic, where you stop doing mental math every time you buy groceries. Most people think this number is $10,000 a month, or $15,000, or whatever their successful friend makes plus 20%. They're wrong. The number is $5,000 a month after taxes. And if you're not there yet, everything about money feels harder than it should. This is Easy Street Invest. In the last 3 videos, we covered how to build margin, make strategic career moves, and invest wisely. But here's the question I keep getting. How much do I actually need to earn for all of this to work? That's what we're covering today. Not because $5,000 is magic, but because it's the threshold where the game fundamentally changes. The problem nobody talks about. Here's what happens to most people. They graduate making $45,000. A few years later, $55,000. Then $65,000. Maybe $75,000 if they switch jobs. And every single time they get a raise, they think, finally, now I'll be able to breathe. But they never do, because the raise disappears immediately. Bigger apartment, nicer car, subscription upgrades, lifestyle creep, so gradual, you don't notice until you're making $80,000 and somehow still living paycheck to paycheck. The median household income in the U.S. is $83,700. That's about $5,200 to $5,500 a month after taxes, depending on your state. And yet 56% of Americans carry credit card debt month to month, paying interest, stuck in a cycle they can't break. So clearly the problem isn't just how much you make, it's what you do with it. But most people never even get the chance to make that mistake, because they never reach the threshold where the game changes. Why $5,000 is the threshold. Let me show you the math most people don't understand. If you're making $60,000 a year, that's $5,000 a month before taxes. After taxes, about $3,800 to $4,200 depending on your state. Here's what that looks like in practice. Rent, $1,400. Groceries, $450. Car plus insurance plus gas, $600. Utilities plus phone plus internet, $250. Health insurance, $300. Debt payments, $250. Total, $3,250. What's left? $950 to $1,550. That's your entire buffer for everything else. Clothing, entertainment, savings, emergencies, retirement, everything that isn't a bill. And that's if nothing goes wrong. No medical emergency, no car breakdown, no unexpected expense. This is survival income. You're not starving, but you're one bad month away from disaster, and your brain knows it. What happens in your brain below $5,000? When you're at survival income, your brain doesn't think about building wealth. It can't. It's too busy managing immediate threats. Psychologists call this cognitive load. When your mental bandwidth is consumed by short-term problems, you lose the ability to think strategically. You take the first job offer, even if it's wrong, because you can't afford to wait. You stay at that job longer than you should, because switching feels too risky. You say yes to overtime you don't want because you need the money. Every decision is filtered through scarcity, and scarcity makes you smaller. The shift at $5,000. But something remarkable happens when you cross $5,000 a month after taxes. Suddenly, your fixed costs aren't consuming everything. If you're still living like you were at $4,000, you've got an extra $1,000 of breathing room. And that breathing room changes how your brain works. Instead of, can I afford this? You ask, is this worth it? Instead of reactive, you become proactive. Instead of survival mode, you shift into opportunity mode. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's 32, spent 5 years stuck at $62,000 a year, about $3,900 after taxes. She was doing everything right, budgeting, saving, trying to invest. But every time she built up a cushion, something would wipe it out. Car repair, medical bill, emergency flight home. She wasn't failing. She just didn't have enough margin for the system to work. Then she got a new job at $78,000. After her annual raise, she crossed $5,000 a month after taxes. For the first time in her adult life, she had money left over. She built a real emergency fund, started investing $400 a month automatically. And 6 months later, she negotiated a $10,000 raise. Not because she suddenly got better at her job, but because she wasn't desperate anymore. That $5,000 threshold didn't make her wealthy. It made her free. The 3 paths to get there. So how do you actually cross the threshold? There are 3 paths. Path 1. Optimize your primary income, strategic career moves, job switching, negotiation. If you're at $55,000 and you switch strategically, you can hit $70,000 to $75,000. That's $5,000 to $5,500 after taxes. But this requires leverage. You need to be in a high-demand field or make yourself irreplaceable. Path 2. Add secondary income. If your primary income is $50,000 and getting to $75,000 feels impossible, add $1,000 to $1,500 a month from somewhere else. Not a side hustle that burns you out. Strategic secondary income that leverages skills you already have. Freelance consulting, online services, contract work. The goal isn't to grind forever. It's to bridge the gap until your primary income catches up. Path 3. Combine incomes strategically. 2 people each making $45,000 equals $90,000 household income. After taxes, that's $6,200 to $6,800 a month. You're over the threshold. But here's the trap. Most couples hit $90,000 and immediately upgrade everything. Bigger apartment, 2 car payments. They're right back at survival income, just with nicer stuff. The move is to live like you're still at $60,000 combined and bank the difference. The trap that resets everyone. Here's where most people destroy everything they built. They cross $5,000 a month. They feel that psychological shift, that breathing room, and then they immediately fill it back up. Nicer apartment, car upgrade, subscriptions, small purchases that add up to $800 a month. Suddenly, they're back where they started. Making more but feeling the same stress. This is the hedonic treadmill. It's why people making $150,000 feel as broke as people making $60,000. Here's the framework that works. When your income increases, your fixed costs stay flat for 12 months. Got a raise from $65,000 to $80,000? Keep living like you make $65,000. Bank the difference. Build 6 months of expenses. Max your Roth IRA. After 12 months, make 1 intentional upgrade. Not everything at once. 1 thing. Why most people never get there. Let's talk about the uncomfortable part. Why do so many never cross this threshold? It's not laziness. It's not being bad with money. It's because the system is designed to keep you just below it. Entry-level jobs pay $40,000 to $50,000. That's survival income. If you stay at the same job, you get 3% raises. At that rate, It takes 8 to 10 years to go from $45,000 to $65,000. And by then, inflation moved the goalposts. Internal raises are capped by policy. The only way to get a real bump is to leave. But you can't leave because you don't have margin to take that risk. It's a trap. Most people stay in it forever. The people who escape do 3 things. 1, they switch jobs every 2 to 3 years in their 20s and 30s. 2, they negotiate aggressively because they have margin to survive a no. 3, they protect that margin. They don't let lifestyle creep consume the gains. What changes once you're there? So you make it. You're at $5,000 after taxes. You protected your margin. You're not paycheck to paycheck anymore. What actually changes? First, you stop making decisions based on fear. You can quit a toxic job. You can negotiate for what you're worth. Second, you see opportunities instead of just threats. Someone mentions a business idea, and you can actually invest instead of just nodding politely. Third, money becomes boring. Not in a bad way. In the way a well-functioning system should be boring. You're not obsessing over your budget. You're not checking your account multiple times a day. You set up automated systems, and they work. Emergency fund sits there doing its job. Investments grow without constant monitoring. Bills get paid automatically. That mental bandwidth you used to spend managing scarcity? You get it back. That's what $5,000 a month buys. Not luxury, not status. Freedom. The freedom to make decisions based on what you want instead of what you're afraid of. The question you need to answer. So here's what you need to figure out right now. Are you above or below the threshold? If you're below, what's the fastest path? Job switch, secondary income, combining with a partner. And if you're above but still feel broke, where is the money going? Because if you're making $80,000 and living paycheck to paycheck, the problem isn't income, it's the system. You skipped the margin building from video 2. You let lifestyle creep consume everything. The good news? You can fix this without earning less. Redesign your fixed costs. Protect the margin you're supposed to have. Most people spend their lives chasing higher incomes while ignoring the threshold that matters. $50,000 to $70,000 to $90,000 still feeling the same stress because they never protected the margin, never built the infrastructure, just kept upgrading their lifestyle. The $5,000 per month threshold isn't about the money. It's about the system you build once you have it, and whether you're willing to protect it long enough for compound interest, career leverage, and strategic decisions to actually work. Most people never get there, not because they can't, but because they don't protect the margin once they do. The question isn't whether you'll hit $5,000 a month. If you follow the strategies from videos number 2, number 3, and number 4, you will. The question is whether you'll keep it, or whether you'll do what everyone else does and fill it back up with lifestyle creep, expensive subscriptions, and fixed costs that turn freedom back into survival. The choice, as always, is yours.